Good evening. I'm here to do a report on the paper I wrote for crisis intervention about Maria, who was actually calling the intervention line because she wanted to kill herself. Her husband was in jail and she was scared about him and she didn't have custody of her children. Basically, there's 5 questions that a crisis intervention specialist should always ask when they suspect that things are not always right with the client. These 5 questions could actually help a specialist determine what the client needs are, how great the need is, and how to handle the crisis at hand. The first question would be, does she have a plan? This should always be the number one question to ask an individual if someone has been having any type of suicidal thoughts. And that answer that they give you would determine whether or not Maria is either just contemplating suicide or she has the intent to kill herself. Another question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This question will just simply allow me to see if Maria has any kind of hope for the future. Because when a person actually completes an intentional suicide, it basically just means that they have absolutely no hope for the future. Another one is, has anyone in your family ever committed suicide? Now, the answer for this would make me decide whether or not if Maria has a genetic predisposition, or if it's genetic. Because people that have genetic actually have a higher risk at suicide than other individuals. Another question would be, would you still want to die if your circumstances changed? With this one, Maria's answer will help determine if there's a certain type of presence or some kind of biochemical or reactive depression. So basically, Maria was talking about that she would be a lot happier if she was able to get custody of her children back. And that would make her health improved, and or if something worked out that she would never have to see her husband again, it would probably make her feel a lot better. Another question would be if she wanted to go to the hospital. This one would basically help me decide what other steps that I would need to take with Maria to make sure she stays safe. If she's unwilling to go, especially combined with the answers that Maria has given me, then I basically won't have another choice but to alert the proper authorities. Those are basically the 5 questions. So the next one will be the evolution of services, which I would tell her about the Safe Families, which would be a great resource for her to go to, because she feels like that she can't properly care for her children. So this would basically keep CPS out of it, or any other states, and it would state services, and it actually give her time for her to get her life together. Another one would be Door to Hope. If this one would be used only if Safe Families couldn't help her, Door to Hope would be able to mentor Maria while her children are in foster care, and these services would actually help her move towards a more successful reunification. These people, Door to Help, they would offer emotional support, advice, and guidance as the legal process unfolds for Maria to have her kids back. Of course, we could always go to a 24 to 48 hour psych hold, which would be something that we wouldn't want to do unless there was no other choice. But this wouldn't be too bad for Maria to go to, basically because she doesn't really want to die. I think that what it is she just really misses her kids. And this would give her a 24 to 48 hour hold until she comes down and she has all her bearings under control. It'd put her more in a stable environment with hot meals and a bathing area. And she would be able to get the mental rest that she needs. She could always go to the YWCA, because she stated to me that she's scared of her husband and she's very fearful of his release date out of jail. I really believe this would be beneficial for her to sit down and talk with a domestic violence advocate and just to see what sort of options that Maria has. And I really don't have that much information on the issue that does surround her or her husband. So I couldn't really give her no advice on that. But she would probably be able to speak freely to somebody in the YWCA. Probably be a lot more comfortable. And they can also supply shelter and food and all her main things needed. And the last one would be the home visit. Now, I've actually stated that there were some relevant safety factors that I was really worried about, such as the toys were all over and dirty laundry, sink full of dishes. Maria had absolutely no electricity. She had a pill bottle in her hand, and she didn't have no food either in the cupboards or the refrigerator. Now, with the sink full of dirty dishes and the dirty laundry throughout the house is a major health hazard. Because actually, depending on how dirty that the clothes are and what is in the dishes in the sink, it could attract unwanted guests such as roaches, maggots, flies, mice, and then the list just goes on. And having any of these unwanted guests could be a major health hazard, not only for Maria, but especially for her children. So with that being said, the biggest concern that I would have would be the pill bottle. Because she could actually leave the pill bottle out, and the kids thinking that it's candy and edible, then they could eat it. And then hopefully by the grace of God, the kids will be okay. With the electricity, the only light that she had was natural light by opening up all the curtains during the day. And the lighting isn't the only concern that I would have. But with there being no power and no electricity, there would not be no electricity for the heat, the air conditioner, the refrigerator. So when she would get food, the food would spoil because there was no way it could stay cool, or the food in the freezer couldn't stay frozen. And I feel like the kids need to get proper nutrition to remain healthy. So the food situation could be considered a health hazard for Maria as well as the children. Another thing is why she doesn't have no utilities hooked up or no food in the cupboards. And that is due to lack of income. Maria unfortunately doesn't have a job or any other type of income coming in. So she would basically be putting her kids in harm's way with food, with having no food. Because the kids have to have food, they have to have the proper nutrition. So in the end, with that being said, what I would do is I would actually recommend that she would need to contact social services. She could research food banks. She could get help with food. Social services could lead her into that direction. She could also take parenting classes, which would help with any type of parent-child concerns. It could also help Maria to keep some order in her home. That would make things a lot easier for her. She could actually go to therapy. And, I would help her with all that stuff, help her find the proper therapist, the proper treatment. Just try to get her back on her feet so that way she could take care of her kids, and just to make sure that her family, her kids, and her can get back on the proper turn of things, and make her unfearful of her husband getting out of jail, just letting her know that people are there, and then the proper treatment and just the proper ways. There's other ways to go about things than the way she's doing it. So that's my paper. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you have a very, very good evening.